Some events split your life into two phases, before and after. That particular afternoon, which seemed utterly ordinary at first, turned out to be one of those pivotal moments for me. Everything had been proceeding as usual. I was home alone, with Marcus away on yet another work trip. The silver lining of his absence was the chance to carve out some personal space, something I hadn't prioritized in years. The past few years, overshadowed by Marcus's emotional detachment, had left me craving solitude, and that day offered one of those rare opportunities for freedom. In my room, surrounded by familiar comforts, I had set up my laptop and arranged a few personal belongings around me. These quiet moments used to be a regular part of my routine when Liam wasn't around. But now that he was back from university, such moments were scarce. Liam, Marcus's son from a previous marriage, stirred feelings in me that were hard to ignore. An unspoken tension I hadn't quite come to terms with. His tall stature, sharp features, and piercing gaze had unnerved me the first time we met. Still, I convinced myself it was nothing more than a fleeting thought. Knowing he was out with friends and wouldn't return until later, I felt comfortable retreating to my room for some quiet time. Or so I thought. Unbeknownst to me, the door hadn't fully closed. Just as I began to relax, Liam walked in. The moment our eyes met felt endless. My body froze as an awkward silence filled the air. His widened gaze said it all. He had caught me off guard. I scrambled to regain composure, but the tension in the room was undeniable. My heart pounded so fiercely, I feared it might burst. Liam hesitated, then murmured, "I should have knocked." His voice trembled, yet remained deep. He slowly backed away, never breaking eye contact, and gently shut the door behind him. I sat there, stunned, unsure of what had just transpired, but certain that something between us had shifted. For the next 3 days, Marcus would still be gone, leaving only Liam and me in the house. I dreaded facing him, yet beneath my apprehension lurked an undeniable uncertainty. I hoped the awkwardness would fade, chalking it up to an unfortunate accident. But I had no idea what awaited me the following day. That night, sleep eluded me. The next day passed in near silence. Liam stayed holed up in his room, and after hastily preparing a meal, I retreated to the living room. It was as though we'd silently agreed not to acknowledge each other, yet the air between us felt heavy. Charged with unspoken energy we both recognized but chose to suppress. By evening, I decided to take a shower. As the warm water cascaded over me, I tried to shake off the memory of the previous day, but Liam's intense expression kept resurfacing. Lost in thought, I was jolted when the power suddenly went out. The water continued to flow, but darkness enveloped the room. Panic surged briefly before I quickly turned off the shower, wrapped myself in a robe, and tied it securely. Just then, I heard Liam's voice from the hallway. "Sophia? Are you okay?" he asked. "I'm fine," I replied, my voice wavering. "I think the power's out." Clutching the robe tighter, I moved toward his voice, entering the kitchen. I couldn't see him, but his footsteps echoed nearby. "We need to find a candle," Liam said, his voice tense. The faint glow from a street lamp outside barely illuminated one corner of the kitchen, while the rest remained cloaked in shadow. As we both fumbled in the dark, I accidentally stumbled into him. My shoulder hit his chest, and we froze, holding our breath. His hands instinctively went to my arms to steady me, but the touch felt deliberate, charged with something more than just reflex. "I didn't see you," Liam whispered, his voice barely audible. Our eyes locked in the dim light, filtering through the window. The connection between us in that moment was stronger than anything I had ever felt before. "It's okay," I murmured, though my trembling voice betrayed me. My heart thundered so loudly I was certain he could hear it. Just then, the lights flickered back on, jolting us both out of the moment. We stepped back abruptly, as if caught in an act neither of us could explain. Liam moved toward the breaker box, pretending to inspect it. But I knew the weight of what had just happened lingered heavily between us. When I returned to the living room, Liam followed. His gaze never left me, and this time, there was a determined glint in his eyes. "Sophia, we need to talk," he said, his tone making it clear this wouldn't be an ordinary conversation. My heart raced again as I sat across from him. The tension between us was almost suffocating. We both knew this conversation had been inevitable for some time, an unspoken understanding passing between us. Nothing would ever be the same. Liam lowered his gaze, speaking softly. "Sophia, I'm sorry about yesterday. If I made you uncomfortable, it wasn't intentional. When I saw the door open, I shouldn't have looked." His voice faltered as he searched for the right words, but I couldn't stop the rush of emotions his apology stirred in me. My heart raced, and warmth spread across my face. "Yesterday," I began, trying to downplay it. I was just so embarrassed. "It doesn't matter," I added quietly, though my voice lacked conviction. Liam sighed and leaned closer. "No, it does. It's impossible not to notice, Sophia. You're lonely, and that's not your fault." Tears swelled in my eyes. Hearing my loneliness articulated so plainly left me unable to deny it. "I thought I had gotten used to it," I whispered. "But sometimes it feels overwhelming. I don't know what to do." When Liam placed his hand over mine, my breath hitched. "You shouldn't have to feel lonely, Sophia," he said, his voice firm and resolute. "Someone like you shouldn't feel this way." For a moment, I lost myself in the weight of his touch. When I looked up at him, the sincerity in his expression was undeniable. That's when I realized this connection between us wasn't just some fleeting misunderstanding. Liam was serious. I tried to shift the topic. "I want to talk about Elena," I said, my voice steadier now. "You told me you broke up. But why?" Liam paused, then exhaled deeply. "Because I haven't felt anything for her in a long time," he admitted. That relationship was over. I just couldn't admit it. I processed his words carefully. "Then why now? Why end it now?" I asked. For a moment, Liam looked away, then met my gaze again. "Because I care about you, Sophia," he said, his voice low but clear. "Elena didn't matter anymore. You've been on my mind for a while. That's why I ended it." I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came. In that instant, I knew that whatever lay ahead would change everything.